start the event in three, two, one,
Hey
start.
everybody, it's me and Sakib down below. We were just discussing about his daughter. His daughter's been sick with tonsillitis, a pretty common thing to get when you're like 5, 6 years old. This is her first bout with it, and as I was saying with Sakib, there's two types of infections you can have. You can have viral or bacterial, and if it's determined to be bacterial, then the best course of treatment is antibiotics. But if it is viral, which is usually what it is, there's really nothing they can do antibiotics wise. But if you are prescribed antibiotics by a doctor, do by all means take the full course of the antibiotics. Antibiotic resistant bacteria is a really big issue now, and we call them superbugs, and it's becoming more and more of a problem. At least until science can discover more antibiotics. I hope all of you guys are well. Happy Friday to everybody. Sakib, go
Friday,
ahead and
everyone.
do your thing. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone. As Ethan said, I've been busy with my daughter, trying to take her to doctors and do tests and all that. But hopefully she'll be right as rain in a few days or 7 days max. But
Typically
yeah, I mean,
7 days, and
yeah,
so she's on day two.
yeah, she's on day two
Okay,
now.
so if within, we'll say, day 4 or 5, you're not noticing, she's feeling better, the swelling's going down, the fever is lower, that's when you should start seeing things happen. So you got about 3 more days, three more
Got
days
it.
to go, and then she'll be feeling better. Hope she gets better soon. How are you guys? I see some new visitors to our room here. Do we have any new messages? Oh my gosh. I keep forgetting because I'm in Dubai. I don't. I've forgotten about the snow. To be honest, no complaints there at all. but
No need to shovel the snow.
yeah, no need to shovel the snow. No need to feel the cold. I guess in the wintertime, the coldest it gets in Fahrenheit. And Sakib, you can be our
Yeah,
metric person here, but in Fahrenheit, it gets probably about 60.
yeah. I mean, the coldest I've seen it is like 16 C, which is around 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Okay, so 16 degrees Celsius is about as, and that is, just the moment before the sun rises, like, the coolest
Mhm.
part of the night. So over the night, it cools down probably from about, I'm going to say 20 C, maybe 19 C,
Yeah.
all the way to 16 C, just when the sun starts to peak above and then it starts going right back up. So you might feel 16 C for 30 minutes, 45
Yeah.
minutes
Good.
tops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope everybody is doing well this Friday. We'll let a little bit more time slide by before we kind of
Yeah. Let
dive
some
into
more people.
things, dive into what's going on. I wanted to start off today with Bitcoin, and looks like we had a little bit of a recovery
Yeah. Yeah.
today
We have.
over this week. We
Yeah.
had kind of a whole downward trend, and had a lot of people ask me, do you think it's you think it's going to go back down to 30K? And I'm just like, well, we'll wait and see. We will
We'll
wait
have
and
to wait
see.
and see.
Yeah. How is everybody doing today? Go ahead and feel free to message us in the chat on the stage here.
Hi, LTC Victoria. Hope you're doing great. We have payments coming up pretty soon here within the.
Yes, it's getting closer and closer to the end of the month, and probably, well, we'll just wait until the until the payday comes, and then we'll update the payment sheet and all that stuff. So everybody knows the bookkeeping. Tell us about your deployment in Kosovo. Or maybe, can you tell us more about your deployment?
That's
Maybe I shouldn't
yeah.
order it that way. Let's see.
One, two, three, four people now.
All right, that's enough for me to get started.
Sure.
All right.
It's a
Um,
peacekeeping mission and very cool. That's all.
okay. Good to know. Peace is always a good thing.
working with lots of other countries. That is
Hopefully
great.
it's a non-violent peacekeeping mission, but I know sometimes that's a necessity because sometimes the only thing people will listen to keep peace is the threat of violence. So hopefully that's not going on. I hope you're safe, and I hope everyone
Mhm.
around you is safe. That being said, let's kind of do a little jump here. I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. And Sakib, we're having a bit of a bounce today off the resistance
Mhm.
that I defined.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of wanted to get your opinion. What do you think? Do you think we're still in a correction? Do you think like this may be an
Yeah.
ABC down to this lower level?
To this lower level. Yeah, personally, this is just my personal opinion. I think we're just in like an ABC correction, and
Okay.
we might hit 42 or the previous support levels,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll become resistance, and then we might test the 30K level,
Okay, for those of you
31.
who don't know, I'm gonna kind of zoom in here so we can see this nice and big. Um, I'm going to show you guys what an ABC correction looks like. So usually once we complete a five-wave structure, we then go into a corrective structure. And one of those corrective structures would be an A, and then you would look at a B, and then a C. And usually the C goes, I would say the C is going to go somewhere around in this neighborhood. So 33.
Yeah, we might not get 33 max. We might not get down to
Yeah,
the 30s.
34.5 to 33 is the range that I'm looking at. And then we would be looking at, an onward continuation of going up.
Yes,
And by
because
the
we are
way,
in a bull market.
your trading strategy should always be in these corrective patterns. You want to exit at the top of the B wave, right? So most people will liquidate at the A wave thinking it's going to go down, but you always want to wait, for that recovery, and you want to try to exit at the top of the B wave. And there's lots of theories of how you can calculate where the top of the B wave is. I look at the previous, movement structures and kind of just do a rough guess from there. I don't try to like adhere to strict like Fibonacci rules and things like that. Some people swear by them. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. But ideally, that's where you want to exit, is at the top of this B wave, because then you're going to recoup. You're going to be pretty near where the top was. So have some patience. It takes a long time to get faith and belief in the way these systems move and the way the market works. Um, but yes, have some patience. And, if you feel like, oh man, I'm losing money, wait till the top of the B wave and then exit. Use that as your exit point. And then use the bottom of the C wave as your buyback in point. That's, again, this is not financial advice. This is just kind of how I've learned how to do things over the years. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that there for a little bit. Let's look at the stock to flow. Right?
Sure.
Because we are so gosh darn near the halvening. And I'm going to try to zoom
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit here so you guys might be able to see things a bit better. Can you see it a little bit better? Is that pretty clear for everybody?
A little
Um,
bit better.
Very interesting that stock to flow wise, we actually hit where the market price should be, or we got really close to it, and then we got rejected off of that. And a lot of people, if you're in the state of the bear mind, you'd be like, oh, we're still in a bear market. If you're bullish like I am, I'm loving this because, and
Yeah.
again, I've explained this before, every time we have these gaps below the market average, it sets us up for the momentum to do way above what the market average should be in the bull run parabolic. So these kind of things excite me. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to get more of that pocket space that's going to give that momentum to drive the price even higher. Now, one thing that I just cannot stress enough for everybody is, just because it's going to hit a target price, it doesn't mean it's going to stay there long. When I say Bitcoin's going to go possibly to 6, 7, 800K, it may do that in just one day. It may kiss that 800K in one day, and then, just immediately nosedive down from there. And so you've got to be very strategic when you set that trade up, meaning that you've got to put that order to sell at that price, I would say 3 to 4 days before you think it's going to parabolic into it. Right? Or you've got to be willing to stay up for 3 days straight and watch it, and put that order in when you think things are going nuts. Really important thing to watch, guys, and probably nobody talks about this. And again, this is not financial advice, but look for the timing, like what markets are moving the price, right? So we've got the Asian markets, and then we've got the,
The U.S. markets.
US markets, and then we've got the European markets, right? And so look at which markets are moving the price. Typically, what I've seen in the past
Yeah.
is the Asian markets move the price the most,
Hmm.
right? So if we had a really strong day in the US and European markets, that's when you need to kind of theorize, okay, when Asia takes over, they're going to push it, from 600K to 700K to 800K. Right. So it just, again, this is not financial advice. This is just, what I've learned through the history of it. So as it's going up, pay attention to, what markets are moving the price action the most, and strategically put in your sell at, in those market time slots, right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean that's when the most volatility, the most trading happens, and that like you said, the Asian markets they
That's
tend
that's
to
typical, right? The Asian
yeah,
markets will do it. And what I've also found is when the Asian markets, hit that peak, it's the Western markets that liquidate
yeah,
out. It's
exactly.
the Wall Street
Yes,
that liquidates out and creates that huge correction. And then of course, by the time it gets back around to the Asians, a full 24 hours, they're panicking too, and then they sell, and it just creates this snowball effect. All right, how do you get these charts has been asked.
I can share
It's
the
easy.
link.
You just go to tradingview.com, or are you talking about the stock to flow chart?
I shared a link to the stock to flow in
Okay.
case you guys want to see that.
If
So
you're looking for just the general Bitcoin charts, you can find that on TradingView, and most exchanges now have their own charts,
yeah, most
which are
exchanges do.
basically clones of TradingView.
Right.
Right.
And just use it to do like in their interface.
Right. Yeah. It's like, basically
And
they've got
copy
it
it.
just embedded in there. So, yeah, look into to stock to flow model is a really important indicator, and we're just so close. We can see historically that in this time frame, this is when the bull run like really starts to take off.
Those were created by Ethan.
Yeah,
So
those were
you can,
created by me, and I think you have to have a paid account to use all the tools. Like, I think they can let you use some tools for free,
yeah, yeah,
but you need a paid account to use like all the fancy schmancy. Honestly, for me, I only need
support
two
music.
tools, right? And I'll kind of go over
The
this.
line.
The first tool, well, I mean, I do use Fibonacci every now and then, but primarily the first tool that I use is I'll go here to the geometric shapes, and I'll just simply draw a rectangle, and I'll draw lines of support and lines of resistance.
And
And as I've been explaining many, many times, if the price action is above this, then it is a support when it comes down. It'll try to stop or slow down at that point. If the price action is below that, then it is resistance for the price action to push out of. And then the other tool that I frequently use are just the wave counting tools, right? So just counting the patterns. So we can do head and shoulder patterns, do Elliott wave patterns, things like that. So those are the two primary tools that I use in this. I do sometimes, oh, I selected a tool, and so now it's like not going to let me do anything until I do that. I do sometimes use like forecasting, like the Fibonacci tool. Where is my Fibonacci tool? There it is. It's right up here. So yeah, so Fibonacci tool is very interesting because you can take some points here and you can
mm-hmm.
kind of predict out with Fibonacci like where they're going to blow. I'm doing this the wrong way. Let me go to a higher time frame, or not a higher time frame, but just kind of go back to where things are going to go. So let's just say hypothetically this is wave one, and I'm going to say this is the top of wave three. All right, and then this will be the corrective, and then we'll go into wave five. So let's go ahead and use our Fibonacci tool to see if we were in the bounds of what the Fibonacci tool would predict for the top of three. So if I go here to the top of wave one and the bottom of this wave two, yeah, you can see like we were right within in the zone of what
Yeah.
Fibonacci should say. So we hit the 261 mark, so you can see Fibonacci is scaled out in these different marks. And usually what we hit is between the 160 and the 260.
Yeah.
That's what I look for as a top of a wave. And
Yeah. The 1618.
interestingly enough, we can take this even further back in time. And we
Mm-hmm.
can do like a huge measurement. Let's do like a huge Fibonacci prediction here. All right, so we'll go to the top of the last bull run and the bottom of this bull run. And this is where Fibonacci gets a little bit more useful, I would say. All right,
Yeah. Long term,
yeah,
you
we'll
can
just
see it.
we'll extend that out. So if we hit the 423 percentile, Fibonacci is saying we'll hit at least 297,000
Mm-hmm.
for this super cycle or grand cycle of Bitcoin. You guys also might be asking, what's this thing right here? This is the last great bull run that we had. I copied all of the movements of this five wave structure here and am using that to kind of gauge where we are in the total bull run. So as you can see, we're in pretty close alignment with what
Yeah.
has previously happened.
And it's interesting that you're using not the previous bull run, but the one from
The
the time
previous
before.
bull run did not.
That
I think
wasn't half
COVID
parabolic.
really
Yeah.
had a strong role in the previous bull run. I think COVID really did a doozy on that, and that's why it kind of
Yeah.
everything about it kind of caught us off guard and did not move in a way or in a pattern that we were expecting. But
Yeah. I
sometimes
mean,
these things
usually
happen.
we have a parabolic, but we never had a parabolic
Yeah, we
really in the
never
last
got
bull
that
run.
parabolic. But these things happen. That's
And like you were saying, I remember when we hit 10K, and not in the last bull run, but the one bull run before that, we went from 10K to 20K within like 7 days, and then
yeah,
we crashed.
yeah.
So
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I would expect us to hit, maybe 300K and then go from 300K to 6, 7, maybe even 800K in like 15 to 20 days, and then that's it. Like it,
yeah,
it's not going to touch that peak again for a long while, guys. So just make sure that you've gotten everything in a stable coin, and then you just be patient. You have to be
yeah,
very, very patient until it hits the bottom. And so far, I've been really good at calling the bottom.
yes,
And in
yeah,
this corrective phase, I called the bottom within 2 days, and we actually have it
hmm,
documented. Like we created
yeah,
I called it the Bitcoin bottom sale,
yeah, that's
right?
right.
And that's another thing too, guys. Is like don't try to be perfectionist. You're never going to be perfect. If you can get in within 10% of the bottom, get out within 10% of the top, you did really, really great. That's an excellent trade, right? So just kind of don't be too hard on yourself. Try
Don't
to
get too
set for those
greedy.
goals. Yeah, try to set for those goals, and you'll be fine. Like don't ever like oh man, I sold everything and it went up 5% higher. I could have made 5% more. Don't regret that. Just let it slide off you.
Yeah,
And then oh I bought back in and it went 5% lower. Don't just let it slide off you, man. Just take it with a smile, take it with ease, because you'll be back up. It only stays at those peaks, the bottom and the top, for very very short periods of time, and then it rebounds very quickly. So if you're a little bit upside down, no worries. You'll immediately start climbing back up, and then you'll be in profit
as
again.
long as you get the meat in the middle, you're fine.
Focus on that. Don't focus on being perfect. Just focus on getting, plus or minus, 10% of the top or the bottom, and you'll be perfectly fine. You do that
Hmm.
after a couple of cycles, and you will be
You're
living
amazing.
a different style of life than you're living now, for sure. Let's take a look at fees, Sakib. Fees have gone down
Yeah,
enormously.
interesting.
Yeah, so fees are now at 33 sats per byte or whatever.
It,
And to put this in
it seems
perspective,
like
when I sent out the payment to you guys at
like
the end of last month, it was 115 sats per byte.
hmm
All right, so I mean, like, it's a significant decrease. Significant decrease. I hope it stays within reason. So, when you guys get the payout at the end of this month or beginning of next month, the fees won't be crazy. But I'm so glad that we changed the strategy to do this once a month. It was a really smart move on all of our parts, and it's helped us, keep more of the mining rewards where they belong with us, instead of giving them out
exactly.
transaction fees.
I think the ordinal craze has died down for now, so that's
It'll
kind of
pick
why the
back up.
fees. It will. As soon as Bitcoin hits 50K, you'll see the fees are going to be astronomical.
Yeah, it, or something. It'll be a ordinal or some other like the word ordinal will die off and it'll become like a velvet or a cream cake or whatever whatever word they want to pull out of their imagination that gets everybody's attention. But it's basically the same crap, different day.
Yeah,
Okay,
Aaron
yeah,
says Trump ordinals inbound. He's
yeah.
actually selling ordinals. He's selling NFTs now, Trump.
Okay, so that's folks. That's when you know to get out. Like, if it's
Yeah,
not
don't.
obvious to you now, like, yeah, it should be. To be honest with you, Sakib and I had we have a Bitcoin meetup every Thursday here in Dubai, and we have a gentleman who's doing an NFT project, and he's very interested in using our mining services to provide utility for his project. And it's interesting to hear him talk because he seems to have a lot of technical prowess. He seems to understand a lot of like really technical things, but he himself has abstained from bringing a product to market without it having that full
Use
circle,
case.
right? It's he didn't want to just bring something that's hyped to the market, and he was sharing with us like his frustration
Hmm.
of how all these other projects are coming to the market and they have absolutely nothing behind them. There's no substance. There's no they don't produce anything. There's no way that they can adhere to the promises that they're making to their public. And so, again, that's why he wants to work with us and get some mining operations so he can get in those revenue streams. So, people utilizing his NFTs really have, something that they can fall upon. And just out of curiosity, I know we had one of our members offer to buy some of the NFTs, and I thought it was really interesting that absolutely nobody, I think, as far as I know.
Oh, not just him. A lot of people have reached out to me on private message, including Pocket Aces,
Uh huh.
and he wants to buy an NFT. I told him, kind of get in line, like post in the group chat, but doesn't seem like anyone's selling. So
So can we look on OpenSea and see if anybody has sold any of their NFTs? Because I would imagine, guys, that the value, I mean, supply and demand. If people are asking, yeah, I just yeah, I don't want to get too political, but I'm not a fan of
yeah,
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 Mr. Trump.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
me neither, but I'll leave it at that.
I think. Well, I mean, I think every president has like good points and bad points, but I think he's basically a very divisive person, and he's pitting. He's trying to divide the U.S. instead of unify the U.S. And he's
Mhm.
trying to kind of make it like an us against them. And beyond that, he's just not a very tactful person with the things how he treats women and things like that, like the things that he's been caught on camera saying. I'm
So,
I'm just not a fan of that. Um, But he preys on hype, and I don't like people that do that. He gets everybody riled up and stirred up and emotional, and we all know when we get emotional, it compromises our decision making. It compromises our critical thinking, and I don't think true leaders should rely upon that to lead. What they should rely upon is sound logic and established um, methods of guiding and leading. Like,
Yep.
let's see here. It says 623,
It's
63
into it,
owners.
and the last sale was September 25th, and that was it. There's nothing else. There was only two dates where there were sales, one on September 18th and one on September 25th, and all of these were that ex-team member that we had as our
I
community
bet you
manager.
he's kind of regretting that, right? Because
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, if he, I know for certain that in the next 6 months, he's going to be able to make tons and tons. Well, didn't he buy back in though? We gave him 10 NFTs, and then he like sold all 10, and then he ended up buying like two back in or something.
Yeah, I see he sold 10, and
Uh
then
huh.
I believe he minted two in tranche five.
Yeah. So there you go,
Dark Lord's like,
folks.
I bought
Yeah.
Alucard Drake bought the last ones on OpenSea. Dark Lord bought two NFTs that he sold.
Just out of curiosity, guys, um, what would you be willing to sell one of your NFTs for right now? Like, let's say I had cash money in hand. What would you be willing? What would be your price? I I want to get an idea of this. Like obviously you wouldn't sell it for what you paid for it, right?
Like he sold his NFTs for like $610, 0.27 ETH.
Okay, 2.5K. Five, yeah, I would be more along the 5K region, Aaron, because I would have to look at,
Yeah,
like the potential reward, right? In a pessimistic scenario is going to be around 5K. So I think that's a fair market value for it. 8X, I think that's good.
4 to 5K, I think that would probably be.
I mean, because, basically you're absolving yourself of the risk and the speculation, right? And then whoever the new holder is, they take over that, and so there's got to be a balance to it. Like you can't sell it as a maximalist, like I think this thing's going to hit 8K, 9K, right? So there's got to be a compromise in there. We think the return realistically will be somewhere between the 8 and 9K region. um, yeah, so I think 5K is a good, right, because it's like if you hold on to it, you've got the potential to get that maximum. But if you sell it now, you absolve yourself of the speculation, and you get most of the meat on the bone of what you should have gotten, right?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, here's another thing too is, also you guys are earning rewards with this. So, that has to be factored in as well, right? So how much rewards are going to be remaining, based of all that. I think right now 5K would be a fair market value. I think as the price of Bitcoin action goes on and we get further into the bull run, you guys may actually be able to liquidate on OpenSea for more than what they would actually make by the end of the project. Like, so for whoever's holding it, let's say I bought one for 8K when Bitcoin's at $120,000, right? And then, in that time, my remaining rewards, let's say I only get 1/3 of the rewards left. So you got 2/3 of the reward plus 8K. And then I get 1/3 of the rewards plus, the speculation of what the miners sell for. I might, just barely break even on that.
That would be a smart move to get like 2/3 of the mining profits and then list it for like
Don't give them
8K.
bad ideas. We don't want bad actors. We don't. We wanted this project to be pure, guys. we didn't want like market scalping and things like that going on. I can't stop you guys if you're going to do it. I mean, it's an open market, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. Is we're literally at the will of the open market, and so whatever the market will bear, that is to be a true broker in the market. Is like you sell for whatever the market was bear. But what you have to understand is you got to take the good with the bad, right? So there are going to be times in life where you have this situation where 8K, people dump 8K like at you like that, and they'll snatch your NFT. But there's going to be also situations where like you can't even get 25 cents for your NFT. So you got to take the good and the bad, right? It all balances out on the end.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean,
So let's. This is kind of interesting. I want to journey down this road a little bit further and see if we could haggle. We've got some people saying 2.5K. We've got another person saying 5K. Let's say I wanted to buy in bulk. Let's say I wanted to buy five off of you. Would you take 3K each for them? Would anybody be willing to do that for 3K each?
interesting.
Nope.
Where can you get 2 cent power to mine Bitcoin with your NFT?
No. These responses here. Let me just change the screen for the YouTubers here. These responses are kind of hilarious. If you guys in YouTube get a chance to look at this,
Dark
yeah.
Lord says, only if you promise to launch more NFTs, I'll sell it to you.
Interesting here. Interesting. Okay, so let's kind of up the ante here. Let's go more closer to the 5K mark. Let's say I wanted to buy in bulk. I wanted to buy five of them at 4K. Would you take 4K?
Okay, you mean.
Well, 4K each.
Yeah.
4K each. That's a healthy return, Sakib. I mean, if you bought in on the first tranche, and the first tranche is what, 420
Right, yeah.
USDT?
So that would be like a 10x. 10x.
Yeah, that would be okay. Let's say 4,200, perfect 10x.
I don't think they'll sell it for 4,200 if they don't want to sell it for 4K. So,
A perfect 10x on tranche one. Would anybody be willing to let him go for that?
in crypto, I guess a 10x is kind of like, like,
No, I mean 10x is good. There's nothing. Show me another project that's doing 10x.
no, no, I mean,
Realistic. I mean,
not a
there's
mining, yeah,
there's lots of projects that
not
are
a mining
promising
NFT.
10x, but how many
Yeah.
projects have you actually gotten a 10x on in your life, Sakib?
Not a mining NFT project, but like some altcoins and speculative, stuff. I mean,
That's almost luck, though. I mean,
yeah,
honestly, like, what
that's
project did you research? You did your due diligence, and it totally had like a sound business idea, a sound philosophy.
and a
It moved in
delivery.
the right directions and delivered, and you got a solid 10x out of it. I mean, you could
I
maybe
mean,
get a
not
3x. I could easily find something to do a 3x, but I wouldn't find something that would do a 10x that's done that. I mean,
uh,
with those altcoins, it's kind of like gambling because you get into
true.
the story and then you pray that market sentiment follows, and then it goes wild, and then you get your 10x and you get out. But like even now, like some of the projects that you're in, I'm not going to name any names, but even now, like I still don't see like what's their end game, what's their real business plan. Like it just seems like every season they change and add something new to it. So at the end of the day, it almost
Yeah.
feels like it's just a marketing company. Like, are they really accomplishing or achieving anything?
They're just making money during the bull runs and then,
Right?
yeah, yeah. BTC 4179. Oh, BTC is 41,796.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
taken a little bit of an uptick, guys, which is
Mhm.
nice, and we expect that in the B wave, as I explained earlier. Um, if you didn't catch it in time here, no worries. We're recording this for YouTube, so you can watch it on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, I want to go to YouTube, and I
Our
want to
YouTube
kind
channel.
of talk more about power, right? And as you can see with this infrared camera here on, and by the way, guys, like and subscribe. All of these, I'm noticing some really cool organic growth in our YouTube channel, which is something that really kind of excites me because I think fundamentally, and we had somebody mention here earlier, like, you know, they'll sell if we create a Monopoly 2.0. If that truly is something that interests you guys, the only way we're going to be able to pull this off, because we had such a miserable experience with influencers, is to basically create our own community from scratch. And now is the time to do community building. And I would love to put lots of really interesting videos and just information about mining on the Mineopoly channel and try to build an audience. If we can get enough subscribers and videos on our YouTube, I will then think it's more plausible for us to expand and create a new project or do another project, because I think our failure point previously was we just did not get the audience. We did not, well, you know, rightly so. We tried to build with influencers, and it was the middle of a bear market, and that's just really tough. But if we can build a big enough following and enough people in our channel, and I think YouTube is an excellent way to do that, and following our AMAs and getting exciting about what we're doing, then I think we'll have a real opportunity where we could possibly, I'm not making any promises, but we could possibly do a 2.0.
Yeah.
You guys are the GOATs. Greatest of all time.
Nice.
But again, these are things that you don't see. You may see other mining facility videos, right? And that you may see like a million miners in the background, and you may see like a fan, you might see a PDU or two, and they might talk about, hey, we're using this much megawatts of power, or, we're doing this. But you don't see any mining videos doing this. I've never seen anybody take an infrared camera on the power wires at a mining facility. But this is something that it's vital to do, right? You need to look at your loads. You need to look at the balance of your loads on your phases. And if your wires are getting too hot, this is a safety concern. And any miner worth their salt, this should be something that they're at least mentally aware of, and they should be talking about this. And the devil is in the details, guys, right? So if they can't give you these kind of details, if they can't give you this kind of fine-grained information, like what is the temperature of phase 2 running to your site, then they're not genuine. They're hustlers, right? Because the real guys like us, we get the real equipment and we measure that, because safety is a concern. We're not dealing with, just residential electricity. This is, look at how those wires are glowing in the picture there. Like, it's air apparent. You don't want that going through your body. And because of that, you've got to have safety protocols in place. And if they're not well versed, if they're not well minded on these, then they're not genuine, because that should be the fundamentals. Before you even plug in a miner, you should have this right. You need to come correct with this, because if you don't, you're going to blow stuff up, right? You're going to blow up transformers. Wires are going to melt. People are going to get electrocuted. Yeah, it's not fun, and it's not pretty. But we're on top of these things. These things matter to us. Why? Because experience counts.
Exactly.
It's common sense when you think about it, right?
We have what, 3 clamp meters per site, so that we can, simultaneously check the load on each of the lines. And
I've changed the SOP about that, Saki, because I found variance between the clamp meters up
the
to
meters themselves.
5 amps. Yeah, I found up to 5 amp, and unless I can do some other way to absolutely confirm that they are like correctly calibrated, but I found up to
So then we
plus or
use
minus 5 amp variance. So I've instructed all the staff on site to use just one clamp, because that way we know that we know the true without any like variance affecting anything like that. But again, how would you know about that if you weren't really doing mining, right? The devil is in the details. But yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance to watch this video on the Mineopoly YouTube channel, take a look at it. And like I said, our whole purpose here was to educate you guys, because when you have enough information, you start to see how everybody else's stories start falling apart. They tell you we've got 30 megawatts at 2 cents power. Well, great. Show me the infrastructure.
I
Where's
mean,
the
tell me about
infrastructure?
your
Yeah, show me
your load.
what PDUs do you have? How are you balancing that 30 megawatts, right? Because that's a lot of power.
Mhm.
So are you dividing that out to 5 megawatt distribution transformers? Like these kind of basic questions, they should be able to answer. And if they can't answer them, or if they falter to answer them, then that should be your immediate clue. They don't know
Yeah.
what they're talking about. They're just making up numbers and pulling up what sounds good to grab your attention, but they have absolutely no idea how they're going to execute.
Yeah. Or they're depending on someone else, like us, for mining.
Yes,
And
or
they're
they're,
just announcing
let me defer to Ethan and Sakib to get those answers for you. Um, so yeah, okay, so well, okay, we'll do that for the next AMA. I want to go over electrical distribution systems, high tension, medium tension, distribution, what kind of transformers you need to step down, the different levels, and what is the max load that can be run on each level?
Yeah,
Because I feel like that is a huge missing link in the mining
yeah.
space, just in
Like
general.
even understanding like reactive power versus, and real power and, those types of things. Like what is kVA and what is the conversion to kilowatts and,
And power
what
factor and all that. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. What is load balancing and why is it important? Yeah, I'd really like to dive into those things with you guys because, again, knowledge is power. And these charlatans come into our market, our space, and they prey on your ignorance. They tell you things that you want to hear, like as low as 1 cent power all in. For how many megawatts? Like, come on,
Can't even do that
guys.
in
Like, if
Africa.
it sounds too good to be true, guess what?
It usually is.
It is. Yeah, it is. Now, obviously, if it sounds too good to be true and it's coming from me and Sakib, we've got the technicals to back it up, and we will. And every step of the way, everything we do is verifiable by you guys. Like, you
Mm.
guys can Google what we say and check it out, make sure it adds up. You guys can look at the video evidence with the equipment, measuring it in real time. Like, we don't keep any secrets. We don't keep any mysteries from you guys because that defeats the purpose of what we're doing. What we're trying to do is educate and enlighten you guys on all these little details. And if we're keeping secrets or hiding it from you or saying, it's too complex for you to
What's the
learn,
point?
yeah, what's the point? Right? That's how we differentiate ourselves from everyone else is we can give you those technicals. We can break it down for you. Um, Here's an interesting question. And maybe you guys will know this or not know this, right? So we have three colors of wires that represent the three phases. We've got red, yellow, and blue. But we've got this black thing over here, and we've got all these other little black things. Does anybody here in our group know what the black represents?
Yeah, Rebel got it.
No, black. Well, let's talk about grounds then, right? So the black actually represents neutral. Right?
Neutral,
And
yeah.
the neutral's main function is just to be the return for the three phases. And what's
Hmm.
interesting is you only need one return for all three phases. So all three of these phases, red, yellow, and blue, all return
To the one
via the
neutral.
neutral, right? And you may notice that the neutral wire is actually not as thick as the phase wires. Does anybody know why the neutral wire is not as thick? Well, first of all, you got three phases, so shouldn't you have like three different returns?
We need
Well, of
three
course,
phase.
we balance the load. What's important about the three phases is to make sure there's equal balance on each phase. All right. So
So let's
as
say
the
300 amps. Yeah.
Yeah, as the
Go ahead.
generator turns at the plant, it actually has three output axes, right? So it's got three parts on the coil that output, and that's what generates our three phases. And we want to
Yeah.
make sure that there's a balance between those, because if there's an imbalance, what's going to happen at the power generation site is it's going to push more power through one line, and then less power it's going to be pushing back because the other one is full in the other lines. And so we want that balance so there's an equal balance pushing out between all three phases. But the reason why the neutral is just one, line that's used for all three is because there's actually very little power. It's just an ability to complete the circuit path. So as the electrons move through the phase, they actually get used as work and produced, as hash power in the miner. And then what is left over is very little. That's just to balance the bleed between each individual phase. And funny enough that you said that neutral is a ground, because technically neutral is a ground. Neutral is a ground for the line system. And then we have an independent ground, what we call a local ground. Does anybody know why we have, why would you have a need for two? What's the purpose of that? Yes,
It's kind of
technically, Rebel,
background. Yeah.
ultimately what a neutral is it is the line system ground. So it is the line system ground for the grid. But we also need a secondary ground that is local to the location.
Local ground.
Does anybody know why that is?
Doesn't seem like we're
Okay,
getting any
nobody.
answer.
We're getting cricket chirps here. So fundamentally, the neutral, its primary responsibility is to balance out between, or be the return for the three phases to the transformer. But there is no return specifically for your local property, right? So we need a secondary ground. So in case there's an electrical bleed or a short circuit on your local property, then we have a secondary ground for that to bleed out into, right? So we have the
Yeah.
system ground, and then we have the local ground as like a redundancy, a safety point that's specifically for what's going on in your property, and it prevents electrical shock for your property.
So you would basically have a grounding rod on your property, and that would be
Yes,
used as
right,
your
right.
local
So
local
instead
ground.
of being dependent on the grid system return to balance, you can be dependent on your local system to take any kind of overbleed. So any kind of electrical short, it'll go through that local ground rather than trying to go through your body. Because if you don't have that local ground, what electricity is going to do is it's going to try to find ground through your body, and that's not safe.
Path of least resistance.
Yes.
Yeah. Rebels just
Exact rebels on point. You guys are excellent students here. Um, so I mean, these things, guys, this is not child's play. This is serious, and these are important things to know. And anybody who is, trying to offer, a mining NFT or any kind of utility off of mining, start asking them these serious questions, because if they don't have the answers for it, or if they say, oh, we'll come back next week or whatever, or if they
yeah.
don't even seem to have a fundamental understanding, you guys know that they don't know what they're talking
Run.
about, right? I mean, this is mining 101. Before I even plug in a miner, I start looking at these things, and we put in the work orders of what we need to strengthen, secure, safeten, and harden these systems, because this runs 24/7. And if it's
Yeah.
unreliable or if it's unsafe, then how good of a miner are you going to be, man? You're not even, it's like building your house on quicksand. You got to have these
Yeah.
fundamentals. This is your foundation, your brick and mortar, your footer below your foundation. You've got to have this solid, or the rest is going to be junk.
Exactly.
It,
If
it
your foundation is weak, it's gonna crumble.
Well, or,
Your
or if you have
building's
no
gonna.
clue that you even need a foundation or anything about a foundation, well, then how are you going to build a house on it? I mean, just common sense. But as far as anatomy, I don't know if I would go as far as to say it's anatomy, but it definitely is physics. And
Mhm.
like it's interesting. Like, you can find out a lot of information about this, but I've found it kind of hard to like I have not found. Well, actually, to be honest with you guys, I found a group on YouTube, and I think it's called the Electrician Group or something. And they
Okay.
are like awesome. If you really want to learn about electricity and like all the different things and wiring and like switches and all that stuff and how they all work, this thing has been the bomb diggity. But I haven't been able to find on the general internet just like a clear breakdown of it all. I can find
Yeah.
residential, YouTube wiring all videos all day long. I can find residential, residential, residential. Try to look for industrial, and then it becomes kind of like black magic. You might find something that's like really, really big, like how to do a substation, or something
Hmm.
intermediary, like how to do like a 1 megawatt transformer. But it just there's not enough consistency, like end to end information for it to help you put it all together. And so hopefully, through our AMAs
We
and maybe through kind of my little lessons that I want to do on our AMAs, I can help you guys connect all the dots to where you can understand it end to end from where it's generated to where it actually goes into your home and you flip on
use
a
of
light
the
switch. You
power.
can understand everything that's happening end to end and everything in between from industrial use to substation use, things like that. Um, anyway, I don't want to be too ambitious, but hopefully I can accomplish that with you guys and yeah, get you guys informed about that. But again, the critical component is we're going to be putting real time videos explaining things on our YouTube channel, and hopefully it will get people's attention and help just educate, just basic rudimentary questions that you can ask to anybody, any newcomers coming in the space. And if they don't have a reasonable, knowledgeable answer like Sakib and I can give, then it's a red flag. Like, hey,
Sky was
Sky,
having some.
Winston, good to see you, man. Happy Friday. You're kind of coming on the tail end of things. I'm kind of wrapping
No
things
worries
up.
though. We're gonna have this uploaded on YouTube here pretty soon, so
Absolutely,
should be.
absolutely. I'm just gonna log in to our main site. Do you know what's up with Edge like coming on every time like I log in?
Huh?
Sakib,
No.
is it doing
Maybe
that
it's
for
an
you as
update.
well?
Yeah, sometimes it does. I think it must be like an update or something. Whenever
Yeah,
Edge does an update, it launches itself.
you gotta love Windows for that. Um, we have another What's Miner that the front fan has failed on.
Inlet
We've
fan.
replaced 6 so far.
Yeah, 6.
We also made a video of that also on the Monopoly channel. And as I mentioned in the video that we could possibly go to What's Miner and get a credit for it. Guess what What's Miner did? Because they know us. They know we're good guys. Guess what they did for us? Go ahead and tell them, Sakib.
They gave us the fans as replacement, and they didn't charge us for it.
We did a
You know, they
one-to-one
they said
exchange.
that.
We also
Yeah.
did an autopsy this week on
Hmm.
one of the fans that failed. And we literally had to break it apart with a hammer. You couldn't
Yeah.
disassemble it. But what I discovered by breaking it apart with a hammer is that basically the control board, like there were no contaminants. There was nothing in there that indicated to me that water or sand or it was pristine
Awesome,
and it
Bob.
was epoxied over
Yeah.
as well. So it's like literally military grade spec boards. So even if water had gotten in there, there's nothing it could have touched or shorted out. So what was my diagnosis, Sakib? What did I diagnose?
Yeah. That it's a it's a component
It's
on
a
the board
bad
like an
control
IC.
chip.
A bad and then it seems like because we're having fans that are going bad around the same time from different
Yeah,
manufacturers,
they're
that
all
tells you
using that
that hey,
same crummy
hey,
IC
yeah,
chip, and like I looked at all the power systems on it, all the resistors, the amplifiers, everything like everything looked very pristine, exactly what you would expect in a new fan. Nothing was burned out, so I know like it was nothing like a power overload or anything along those lines. The only thing I could deduce is that the controller chip itself had failed, had gone bad because none of the lower stage power modules like looked like they'd been stressed out or There's no burnt smell, nothing that indicated anything like that to me as a failure. So um, my educated guess, and I could confirm this with a voltmeter. I didn't dive all the way in with a voltmeter. I could have if I really wanted to nerd on it, but failed. They're fairly simple systems anyway, right? So you've got an IC chip, and then you have your power stages that just control the brushless motor,
Yeah.
and then
With the
you've got
magnet.
basic sensors that record the speed and whatnot. But if you look on this, the speed in on fan one, like we're getting absolutely zero, and it's the control chip that does the reporting. It does the connect and it does the data report. And basically, what it's saying is the control chip is dead because all the
Yeah.
power stages, everything else seemed perfectly pristine to me. And because
And
those control
what's
chips are
interesting,
very, very low voltage, like if they go out, they're not going to smell burned. They're not going to look burned or anything like that. They're just going to fail.
and what's interesting is, what's miners, even if your inlet fan is out,
They
with
still
just your
run.
outlet fan, they still run fine. They hash full, they don't overheat or anything. They still maintain
Well, the rear fan
perfect
speeds
temperature.
up. That's why this one's at
Yeah,
53 and the rest are like 39,
like 39, yeah,
35, something like
4,000.
that. The rear fan
Yeah,
speeds up. But Bitmain, we found out this week, if Bitmain has four fans, by the way, What's Miners have
yeah,
the two fans. Bitmains have
true.
four fans. If just one of the four fans go out on Bitmain, the whole thing stops hashing.
Yeah. Unless you're using an aftermarket
Unless you're
firmware,
using
like,
aftermarket firmware, which I think it might be time to get an aftermarket firmware. Um, but yeah, Sakib and I bought a bunch of new fans, and we've got those all ready to go. So if we have any more fan outages, it should be just a quick fan swap, and we should be back up and running. But yeah, I mean, you guys can see here, we've got the fan error code here that the front fan is not working right or whatever. Really happy with the hash rates here. The average hash rates, we've got 121 on this group up here, all the way down to 119. And that's also showing in the mining results that we're getting.
yeah,
So yeah, things are going pretty good, guys. Like I said, we had to swap out a couple fans, so we're only offline for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully we'll get to make some more videos through this next week. I'm especially excited to make some videos for Rope and Cobra Mining Project. We've secured a piece of land for them, and we're just in the process of, getting everything plotted out to start breaking ground and building the buildings and getting the power upgrades and doing all that cool stuff. So really excited to make some videos of that step by step and keep you guys in there. Hit that like button and subscribe button if you want to see more
yeah,
content from us. That's how we will continue to grow this community and hopefully get to a place where we can do like a Monopoly 2.0.
yeah. I mean, it's up to you guys to make it happen.
No, I mean it's not up to you guys specifically, but it's just kind of up
Well, I
to
mean,
like the
up
World
up
Wide
to you
Web
guys
and
to
yeah,
spread the word and get more followers. And so, if we have we're gonna do our thing. We're gonna create the content. We're gonna upload.
yeah.
But anything you guys can do to grow the community,
Well, I
that
mean,
would be
doesn't
great.
the like hitting the like button and like writing comments, doesn't that like get it put in
Yeah,
front of more people who could
that's
be a potential audience? I don't know. Honestly, guys, I love mining. I'm not going to pretend I know this social
yeah,
media influencer BS. That's why we paid people to do it, and
yeah,
because I'm just not savvy with that. But if any of you guys are savvy with that, please let us know, and we'd be happy to hear from you and like work with you and follow some strategies or something like that. But that
yeah.
being said, yeah, happy Friday, guys. I hope you have a wonderful, awesome weekend,
You can.
and we'll see you next week.